Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ. And with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grump, how are you doing this fine Sunday evening? How are
Good.
you?
Good. Very nice.
Oh, good. Good to hear.
Had a nice little visit over the weekend from my favorite person in the world. Well, one of my favorite people in the world.
Good gracious there. So yes, for those who are new to the channel, welcome. This is an all Islanders podcast that usually takes place every single Saturday around about, I'd say it's, late evening, early evening to late afternoon time period. I mean, it could be live anytime between like 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wish I can give you a more specific time frame as to when we go live, but it kind of all revolves around our little baby. So, it changes kind of from day to day. It's the reason why, if you're new to the show and you like the content, you've got to be subscribed on YouTube with the notification bell on, because it will alert you when we do these little pop-up, like ding, and the little pop-up podcasts like we're doing here tonight. Today, we are recording on Sunday. We usually record Saturday, again, usually between 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But tonight, there was a few things that we had to talk about. There's some listeners, some people who wanted us to weigh in, listeners of the show wanted us to weigh in to share some of our thoughts on some Islanders happenings here recently. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. But again, just make sure if you like the content, subscribe on YouTube and to like the video. And one other piece of general housekeeping, we also do have a all sports podcast that we usually do at this time slot right here, but we're foregoing that show to give you a little Islanders content, right? So, we're changing it up, but we usually have the show on Sunday evenings right around this time. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's an all sports podcast that takes place again every single Sunday at this time frame. And it's myself, the Grumpy Old Man, and the Magnificent Son X talking anything and everything sports. So that's NFL, that's NHL, that's NBA, that's college athletics. That's literally anything and everything sports on that show. So Formula One. Yes, absolutely. We get some Formula One talk in there too. World football. I mean, it's literally anything and everything sports. You can find it in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel where it says, check out our other podcast. There's TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. All righty, Grump. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Islanders, since our last show, Noah Dobson got injured. He's going to be out for a while. We'll talk about that. We'll look at that. I'd say in a call to action, Lou Lamoriello saw Noah Dobson was out. He goes ahead and signs Tony DeAngelo. We're going to talk about that. That's caused a little bit of rumblings in the Islanders, Isles Twitter and Islanders fandom. People have different takes on it. We'll share ours. Islanders getting hot before the Four Nations face off. Isn't that just so apropos? Got to heat up. Got to start heating up. We got to keep the band together. Got to keep the team together. We can't give them any reason to think we should sell. We gotta put forth the best effort now, guys.
It's the same every year, isn't it?
Every single year, same song and dance. But we're going to talk about that. There was a big marquee trade that was made. I'm not sure it's going to have much impact if the Islanders were to sell players like Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri on their values, just because I think this is a very unique scenario. We'll talk about that. Carolina, I think, just got a whole lot better with their trade. So we're going to talk about that too. A lot to discuss.
Also, just a little, I heard a little birdie told me that Ryan Pulak could be out for a bit of time.
Oh gosh. Well, he immediately left that
under your bonnet. But I heard that
this is the first time Grumpy's filling me in on this. He didn't fill me in on any of this. He didn't fill me in on our source. He didn't fill me in on who he's hearing anything from or what's going on. So I'm flying completely blind, like all the listeners of the show do sometimes when we say stuff like that, Grumpy. I don't appreciate that much, Grumpy.
Always keep me in the dark. I'm just telling you, little birdie chirped into my ear, beep, 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 and said that Ryan Pulak could miss a significant chunk of time.
So he's done for the season, is what you're telling me?
No, didn't say that.
Would he break a wrist? I bet he injured something. Is it substantial enough where he's going to miss some time? Is all that needs to be taken away.
Yes.
So we're going to be without, because here's the thing. We'll show the Noah Dobson clip. You really can't see much from the Ryan Pulak clip, albeit. I went back and looked at it. I'm like, oh man, it was like on the first shift of the game. He kind of got like his back leg got tripped up or something like that.
Well, supposedly, this person told me it was a slew foot. Is what took him out.
Yeah, it wasn't a slew foot. I guess we'll look at that one too. But here's the thing: Noah Dobson will be out for an extended time period. We're gonna play Dr. TJ and Dr. Grumpy Old Man. We'll put our doctor's hat on. We'll sign up. We'll get our medical degree. I'll forge my wife's, and I'll go ahead and start passing off what I think the injury is, and we'll go ahead and continue from that.
And since I used to work in that medical profession, I'll just give you my professional opinion.
Are you going to dust off your old medical professional opinion there, Grumpy?
Dust off the old books.
Dust off the old books.
Give the old diagnosis codes.
Oh, gosh. Here's the thing. We will be talking absolutely about the Islanders' form and their play here as of recent. So we're going to talk about that too. I feel like the big items, though, that have happened since our last show, we played well. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. Dobson getting injured and being out week to week. I think it could maybe be a little longer than what people anticipate. Ryan Pulak's out probably week to week as well. The signing of Tony DeAngelo, and then the trades that happened. So we're going to talk about all that and more today. So from the Dobson injury, for those who have seen it, I mean, honestly, I'm shocked it's not as severe as it could be. I'll put this up on screen, and I'll try to make it as slow-mo as possible. But he kind of gets his knee bent up on, and it's a clear MCL injury. People are like, it could be MCL or ankle sprain. When you watch
it's an ankle sprain.
Oh, that's one of those medical guys who do this. They commented it's definitely an MCL injury. I mean, that's all it is. And I was really curious of, was it a tear or was it a strain? Just being week to week, I'll let you watch a clip. It's probably a strain.
Sprains.
Ow!
Oh, okay. Again, you went too fast. Didn't even see it. Got to go slower.
Ow! God almighty.
Your knee is not meant to bend that way. I'm going to tell you, it's absolutely not meant to bend that way.
Oh, my medical opinion, MCL sprain, out about 5 weeks.
And you do realize that a sprain is actually torn ligaments, right?
It's
It
not
is.
it's not to the same degree of like a tear where you need to have surgery to repair it,
Right,
right?
but there are torn ligaments that, will heal over time.
I mean, he's going to be out for some time. Oh,
Yeah,
God almighty.
here's the thing. That's ugly. It's ugly looking, and we wish him well. We do.
We like Noah Dobson. Big fans of the future $10 million man. I'll tell you that. So I will say Noah's going to be out for some time. Right? He's our best defenseman that's out there. People are going to try to shit on him. Oh, no, Noah's not very good. He's not this. He's not that. Noah's the best defenseman we have on the team all around. Again, I'd be hard pressed to tell you anybody who's a better all around defenseman besides Noah Dobson. It's the reason why he logs the most minutes 5-on-5 usually a game, and he usually plays most minutes ice time because he can do it and he's good enough to do it. That being said, so we lost Noah Dobson. Later on that week, the Islanders signed Tony DeAngelo, grumpy old man. Let me get your initial thought of the Tony DeAngelo signing.
I know a lot of people don't like Tony DeAngelo. I'm going to say I don't follow the Rangers. I don't really religiously follow other teams. I know something happened when he was with the Rangers, and he's bounced around since. I know certain members of the fan base have been very critical of Tony DeAngelo when he played for other teams, thought that he was a cancer and was not going to be good for any of the other teams. It doesn't help them. It's a step back for these other teams. But when they come to the Islanders, this is a great move for the Islanders. I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I will say I thought he played. I didn't think he was great when he was with Carolina. I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't a good fit there. But I thought he looked pretty good last night against when we played against Carolina last night. I thought he was okay last night. I think he played like upwards of 25 minutes a game yesterday, particularly with Pulak going out, and you expect him to get a lot more ice time going forward.
I think for a guy like Tony DeAngelo, again, I'd have to really dust off what happened in the history books as to why he had the issues he's had. The guy is a locker room cancer, probably. I don't think they didn't sign him to a multi-year deal. They signed him to a 1-year deal for a time period of like 3 or 4 months, right? Like that's realistically what they've done. They've signed a guy who could help maybe fill a slot of, okay, Noah Dobson's going to be out, right? Like the signing of Tony DeAngelo tells you all you need to know about what happened and what the actual extent of the Noah Dobson injury is. They wouldn't go out there signing a guy like Tony DeAngelo, really, which is, I would classify this probably as not a Lou Lamoriello MO signing. Remember, Lou is the guy, I want everything to be squeaky clean. If you don't get your vaccine, we're not going to allow you to play as a part of the Islanders organization. This and that. Again, the guy he's some guys, he has no problem at all looking with extreme scrutiny. Other guys, I guess like DeAngelo, because again, I understand he's got a checkered past. That's the nicest way I can put it. But didn't have an issue at all signing a guy.
I think he had issues with Keandre Miller when he was with the Rangers, and he punched Georgiev when he was on the team. It's not a good teammate as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what happened with Keandre Miller. I do not know.
I don't either. And someone's going to have to tell me. I don't know if it's hearsay or like he said, she said nonsense. I have no idea. I don't follow the Rangers enough. Now, think about it. This guy's been on like 5 teams in 7 years as well, or 9 years.
Sounds like Anthony Duclair on the back end.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, like this is a defenseman, Anthony Duclair, who's been on a billion teams all over the place. I mean, like you like it, like Tortorella came out there and says, "Oh, I'm in a big rush. I don't have a chance to go ahead and comment on the signing or about Tony DeAngelo joining the Islanders." And I'm like, I took that as okay, gotcha. He's got nothing nice to say about Tony DeAngelo. Tortorella is not a big fan. Whatever. I think Tortorella was the coach of the Rangers at the time period DeAngelo was there.
And Andrew Gross did put out a tweet, said both Brock Nelson and Bo Horvat tell me they've gotten a ton of unsolicited texts from around the NHL speaking to what a good teammate and person Tony DeAngelo is and how he'll be a good fit in the room. I thought that was interesting. I've never heard that. It could be true. I don't know. I just like the unsolicited tweets thing or contacts with people. I don't know. Maybe unsolicited text. Do people do that when guys are signed? I don't know. No NHL team even took a chance on him. He was playing in Russia.
And then I think that they mutually parted ways with his Russian contract because he had some issues with the Russian team as well. Because he was leading, I think, all defensemen in points in the KHL this year, but he wound up essentially leaving because they ran across a few issues in the road. I was like, okay. So again, what does this tell me? This is not a guy who is any sort of long-term solution. This is a short-term stopgap to fill the spot in the void that's left by Noah Dobson. Simple as that. There's a reason why he wasn't playing for any NHL team this season, and there's a reason why as soon as he left the KHL after leading the defensemen in points in that category, it wasn't like every team was like, let me sign Tony DeAngelo. Oh, gotcha. We can really use a solid top 4 defenseman to add to the roster. Let me sign Tony DeAngelo. He is what he is.
Yeah, I just don't know why. Okay, the Islanders had to fill a gap. He didn't cost anything, right? $770, whatever vet minimum was. But what does it say about how the Islanders feel about this team going forward, right? Does it say, oh, we're good enough to win the Stanley Cup playoffs or whatever, and we just need to right the ship until Noah Dobson comes here? Because I don't know who sits after that.
Well, it tells me a few things. Samuel Bolduc has no future with this team,
True.
Right? You had a guy like Bolduc you could have called up. You have other defensemen in the system. You don't trust any of them. But it tells me something additional. Lou Lamoriello, as I told you, was my biggest fear, and it still is, still thinks that this team is good enough to compete, and he's willing to do anything he can to try to win as many games as humanly possible for the deadline so we can add at this year's deadline. Book it.
Okay.
Book it, Dano. Book it, Crump.
Okay.
I'm about to schizo spiral, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because, 30 seconds ago, you said this is not a Lou Lamoriello type signing. And now you're saying Lou Lamoriello did this and he's all in on it.
He's starting to bend his moral compass to try to sell his soul.
Okay, so he's starting to bend his moral compass. You know how he could bend his moral compass? Let guys grow beards and have hair over the tops of their ears. That's a moral compass that he could bend, but he's not doing that. I don't know. I don't know. But I think a large swath of the Islander fan base is not particularly happy with Tony DeAngelo. And I do not know. Again,
he's also a guy who's very vocal on the political side. And that's one that I'm assuming makes some fans upset, is because he kind of stirs shit up on the political side. And again, what's the one thing you probably, as a professional athlete on both sides, doesn't matter whether you're blue hat, red hat, you probably just keep your politics yourself and play the sport. My belief.
I don't know what his politics are. I don't know. I don't even care, honestly. I'm just kind of, I know he's had issues where other places he's been, but I never heard anything. It's like, Josh Ho saying, we've seen everything. He's been great. He hasn't shown us anything, but we're going to send him down to the minors to work on those things. Okay, what are you even talking about? This feels like another what are we talking about thing. I don't know what happened. I know he hit Georgiev, he punched Georgiev, and he had a some type of run-in with Keandre Miller. That is the extent of what I know about Tony DeAngelo. All I care about is, can he be a good player for the team?
I don't want him to be a good player for the team.
Well, I'm just going to say, and I don't know what he did, but people as they mature, I don't even know how old he is.
He's now 29.
Okay, so he was really young when he was with the Rangers. So maybe he's grown up. I don't know. But like I said, I thought he played well enough last night to help this team going forward. That's all I can say about Tony DeAngelo.
I think offensively, he's definitely a plus. And I don't think there's any way to dispute that. I think on the offensive side of the puck, he definitely, again, our team doesn't. What did we say? I know I'm jumping, but what did we say after DeAngelo? You and I were talking, and I tweeted about it. The Islanders without Noah Dobson have no person on their defensive side of the puck that can go ahead and lead outlet passes to break out of the zone and spring offense. Absolutely no one.
Because Isaiah George is not that guy right now.
Isaiah George isn't very good. He's just not.
FYI,
he won't be there yet.
Another FYI, we might need a little backup goalie help here going forward.
Hogberg got hurt too. Good point. Yes, that's right. Hogberg. I don't know if he broke a hand or a finger or something like that.
Could be.
It looked like something was like bending the wrong way. I was like, oof, that's probably not good for Hoggy.
So expect him to miss some time also. Maybe our permanent backup, Semyon Varlamov, will also come. I mean, he's under contract for who knows how many more years and who knows how many millions to be, a backup goalie. So, I don't know. But I will say this has been a big injury year for the Islanders, which usually has not been the case. It's funny.
Totally
The first year without either Barry Trotz or Lane Lambert to start the season, which we really didn't have a boatload of injuries when those guys were coaching, certainly like long term. But this year, the first year under Patrick Roy, seems like we've had a lot of injuries for whatever reason. And you just wonder, maybe the physio who was working with the Islanders when Barry and Lane were there, were really doing a fantastic job kind of preventing some of these injuries where Patrick Roy's not privy to that same guy. I don't know. Just spitballing here.
Here's the thing: as you get older, and it's not like all of the old guys are getting hurt, but as you get older, generally speaking, the likelihood you're going to get beat up and beat down and injured increases a bit. Just does.
True.
So, I don't think it's out of the ordinary to see a team that's an older team have a few more injuries and pick up a few more bumps and bruises along the way. It's just how it happens. Getting back to the DeAngelo thing, I think he helps the team offensively from the back end immediately. He does. I don't know what he brings defensively. I mean, you could see game one, he's good with his outlet passes. He's definitely an offensive-minded defenseman. There's no doubt about that. So everything is exactly as advertised on that. I think he skates halfway decently with the puck. He's bigger. He's taller than I thought he would be out there on the ice. But, man, the thing that bothers me is this signing, right? Why would Lou, if Lou was in the mindset of we're planning on selling our assets at the deadline, why would he add a piece that helps us compete for right now?
That I do not know.
That's where I'm worried. Absolutely that. Gotcha. He thinks we could still compete. That's seriously, that's the worry I have. He still believes that this Islanders team can compete for a Stanley Cup and compete for the playoffs. Otherwise, he wouldn't be making an addition like that, right? We agree on that?
That's fair.
If he didn't think the team had a chance and he was saying, great, we're going to sell assets, he wouldn't be concerned about, I need to pick up some short-term solutions for the next few months before Noah Dobson becomes healthy. The fact that he's doing that tells me really two things, right? We don't have anybody that can bring the puck out of their own zone besides Noah Dobson. The only guy that can do that. It's the reason why as soon as that injury, we didn't make any sort of, hey, Tony, let's, and again, Tony DeAngelo wasn't an unrestricted free agent until just recently, but we weren't over there giving his agent a call in the KHL saying, hey, buddy, maybe there's a spot open in the NHL when you want to come over here. We weren't burning up his agent's phone or anything like that, talking about the opportunity he has in the NHL. Because I promise you, he would have left at the first time he got a call from a team. But we didn't do that for Pelech. We didn't do that for Pulak. We didn't do that for Mike Riley. We didn't do it for any of the injuries on defense or Romanov. Noah Dobson gets injured 2 days later. Hey, Tony DeAngelo, we want to go ahead and sign you. We want to make you a New York Islander. We don't have anybody defensively that could go ahead and lead a forecheck. We don't have anybody defensively that can outlet the pass in the zone. So
you lose your best defenseman. You have to get somebody to fill that gap. And Noah Dobson is the best defenseman on the team by a mile.
Yeah.
So, anyone can rip him all they want. He's the best defenseman on the team, and it's not even close for second. Mm-hmm. Now, the Pulak injury is also it's problematic.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but I just want to finish and tie off anything else about Tony DeAngelo, right? I think he's checkered. I don't think he's here long term. I don't care that he was signed. What bothers me more than any of this other nonsense that people are complaining and bitching about online is the big issue is Lou Lamoriello still thinks this team can compete. And he showed you that by adding a piece for the short term. If he didn't care and was going to sell off pieces, he wouldn't care about adding Tony DeAngelo to the roster. He wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have cared about it. Grumpy, why else would he add Tony DeAngelo?
I don't think you're looking to just let the team go in the tank.
Why not?
Honestly, it's
why
a
not?
no.
14th in the conference. Why not?
It's a no lose signing. It's not a lose. You can't lose on it. It's a 1 year deal. It's a 1 year deal. The end of this season.
The lose scenario is this: we string together more games so we destroy any sort of high opportunity we have at a very good lottery selection because we win a few more games.
You don't have any bodies to play defense. You just lost two. You just lost two of your top three defensemen. You can't. You gotta replace them. And Dobbs again. Like I mentioned to you, no one else. They have no one else to move the puck. No one. You're going to put Chalowski out there every night? It's a disaster when he's out there. Cannot do it. Tony DeAngelo is better. Like I said, the only thing that's concerning, with Tony DeAngelo is he had to play in Russia because no one in the NHL wanted him, which is like, why not? Did he have problems in Carolina? We know he did in Philadelphia, supposedly too. That's why he was cut loose there.
He had issues in Arizona, remember, too.
I didn't hear of any issues with him in Carolina. So I don't know.
Brandon did speak highly. He said, it didn't make sense to me why a guy that talented didn't get another opportunity until right now. Maybe that's true. But again, I don't think necessarily
they're playing on their back end. They're playing Brent Burns, Brent Burns is absolutely finished.
And Chatfield is miserable too. They're bad on the back end.
I like Chatfield. I disagree about Chatfield. But Brent Burns is finished. He's finished. This will be his last year in the league. He's done.
I mean, Orlov isn't the same type of guy either. I mean, just like
35 years old.
You look at it, I mean, that team definitely has, some, they're definitely, I mean, like they definitely have some holes I think they need to address.
But here's the thing with Carolina. They have 2 or 3 defensemen ready to step in on entry-level deals. So they just let these guys play out the last year. They bring those guys in, let them step in next year. They know it. Just when you think Carolina is going to make a bad move, it turns out to be gold. It's just the way it is. And they absolutely won this trade the other day. Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, DeAngelo has a checkered past. I'm not concerned. People were bringing up the question, or at least the worry of, well, he could go ahead and destroy the chemistry in the room. I think the chemistry in the room is already garbage. We have a cul-de-sac crew, country club mentality of this team. I don't think one guy is going to upset the country club. I just don't think that's going to happen. And maybe we do need a few Adam Sandlers in there to go ahead and turn the freaking country club upside down. I don't know. But I don't think, 3 or 4 months of one player is going to derail a veteran team with a whole bunch of guys who've been there for multiple years and destroy the locker room chemistry. I just don't think that's probably likely.
And, just to address your point real quick of, the Islanders making a run at the playoffs, like whenever you see any NHL scenario or an East Conference team is playing, they put up who's on the bubble, who's not. The Islanders aren't even a bubble team. They're not even potentially in contention team because they're so far down. But neither is Pittsburgh, neither is Philadelphia. It doesn't matter.
Buffalo. Neither are all those teams.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The Rangers will make the playoffs. Anyone who hates, just get ready for it. They're going to make the playoffs. Yes. They got rid of the cancer out of their room, and all of a sudden they've righted the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where that final playoff spot is coming from, honestly, for the Islanders to have a shot. I just don't see it. Too far out, and too many teams in front of them.
The issue is this. I'm terrified that our GM thinks that we could still do something and will either A, not sell, or B, add.
I disagree. I think here's what he has to do. You have that 2-week break with the Four Nations
face-off
silliness. That's when you need to be all the ground. He should already be laying the groundwork to move Brock Nelson. Absolutely should be laying the groundwork right now, this second, to move Brock Nelson. Colorado looks like an option now, right?
Sure.
They have opened up salary cap space, and they desperately need a number 2 center. Why not make a trade with Colorado? Colorado does not have a 2025 first-round draft pick, but they do have one in 2026, which is a better draft. I'm moving Brock Nelson for a 2026 and maybe a prospect or a second-round pick or whatever. If you need to make it more plausible for this year, take a second rounder this year, a first rounder next year. I'm all for that. You need to move those guys. And I still think that's, in most likelihood, that's what's going to happen. Same thing with Palmieri. I think both of those guys are absolutely going to move at or before the deadline.
I'm just worried and concerned that Lou still believes in this team. He still believes in the core of the roster, and he still thinks that this team can compete. And not selling, again, as I've mentioned multiple times, and if you've mentioned, if he doesn't sell guys, both Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri at the bare minimum, we're screwed. We're screwed.
And you can't get rid of everyone because the whole team should pretty much be up for grabs. But you must move guys on expiring deals.
Yes.
And then in the offseason, it's like, okay, who else can we move going into last year deal? You're going to get more in the way of prospects in the offseason than you are at the trade deadline. So
Yep.
I think that's still probably the direction the team is heading in, hopefully with the new general manager.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's obvious the team isn't good enough, right? I mean, even the most diehard Lamanites and their ilk, they know.
The
Deep down, they know.
sentiments change. The sentiments change. Now people are saying, "Oh, whoa, Islanders have won 7 of their last 9 games.
Oh, they won 7 of the last 10 and 7 of the last 11 also. So, I mean, if you want to cherry pick, that's okay. We're 1 game, or was it 1 game or 2 games over 500? I don't even know.
1 game over 500.
1 game over 500. That's a freaking 500 team. So that puts you on pace for what? 84 points in a year. That's not good enough to make the playoffs. And there's so many teams ahead of you, and they're all going to be playing one another. So they're all going to be getting points, and you're going to have to win all your games. The Islanders have more games down the stretch than the other teams. That's going to be actually
the scheduling, though. I'll let you finish.
That's going to be a bad thing for the Islanders, I feel, because there's a team with older legs, and I think they've showed a lot of jump the last number of games, the last 4 games, absolutely. But you know what? You cannot keep that up. You notice this run has coincided with the Islanders getting 3 games in 3 days off between games, 4 days off between games. It's easy to have your fresh legs, but when you're going to be playing 3 and 4s, back-to-backs, it's not going to work. Last night, notwithstanding, last night's game with Carolina was a repeat of the first game up in New York against Carolina. They went up real early, 2-0, and they just kind of said, okay, game's over. We're going to coast. I knew that. TJ, did I not say yesterday, this game feels just like the first game?
Yep.
I said that.
You mentioned like a 2-0 lead is for this team is a dangerous lead because they dominate and they say, great, we could take our foot off the gas. And again, what I thought was, I mean, Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Kakaniemi got into a fight. You know, Jean-Gabriel Pageau kind of got shown the business, but I think that kind of changed the momentum of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah. You know, it's the Islanders. I mean, you talk about like a gutsy win. I mean, that's a gutsy win against Carolina. Carolina, think about it. The Islanders played essentially the whole game with 5 defensemen with the backup, you know, in net with Hogberg. So, and again, they came out victorious. Now, again, I always do find it funny that this always coincides usually with the NHL trade deadline, Grump. Is that always, it's just like the Islanders start to play better. They start to win more games right as the trade deadline starts coming around because we got to keep the core together. Remember, I showed the clip last week where Bo Horvat was talking about, oh, yeah, we got to start winning for the guys in the room so we can keep the team together if we want to keep playing with these guys. Same shit it always is, always, every single year. A minimum effort until we need to put forth some effort and to say we got to keep the group together. That's how it is.
Well, like I said, I don't think that's an option this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right, and I hope my worries are going to be quelled in no time. Now, this is something I did want to bring up here, at least talking about the scheduling. This is, you mentioned we've got a lot of games in the second half of this year. Now, I did want to mention this. The Islanders, I don't know how this happened. I guess, again, on a schizo spiral here for a second. I was shocked. Last week, I think the Islanders played somebody that was on their third, they're playing their third game in 4 nights. I looked at the schedule. I'm like, oh, wow. I said, next they play Colorado, who will be playing their third game in 4 nights. And the schedule after that, they're playing Philadelphia, who's going to be playing their third game in 4 nights. I'm like, that's just odd. And we're going to have rest in both of those games. So those are games, we would expect the Islanders to come out victoriously. The Islanders, I did a lot of crunching of numbers last night, Grump. The Islanders have, again, 82 opponents, just like everybody else in the NHL. 20 of the games that they play this season will be against a team playing their third game in 4 days. I honestly could not fathom that. We have 82 regular season games. 20 of those 82 regular season games are against a team playing their third game in 4 days. And we play the Rangers 3 more times this year. Each time we play the Rangers, all 3 games, they're playing their third game in 4 nights. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. So again, I think this schedule really lines up well for the Islanders going to make a late push and they may squeak their way into the postseason, and then they get killed by Carolina again in the first round. This is what this has written all over.
I don't see it. Again, there's way too many teams ahead of the Islanders. We're not good enough. It's not happening
good enough either. But if you're playing a team every single, if think about it,
I don't care. The fact is, the Islanders have to play more games than everybody else after the 2-week break.
All the teams that are playing are playing the third game in 4 nights. We're going to be more well rested than they are.
It's not happening. It's not happening. It's just not happening. Not happening. I mean, who have they beaten? Okay, they beat Carolina. Carolina, shit. I don't know what their goaltender, the backup, was doing yesterday.
Kuchekov is not the backup anymore.
Kuchekov is the backup. Freddie Anderson's back. He's the starter. Kuchekov's the backup. You're wrong. I have them both on my fantasy team. Believe me, he's the backup. He's the backup goaltender. So Anderson didn't play because he played the night before. So it's Kuchekov was in there, and he's just a liability. He's a loose cannon back there in net. And I still think if you're a Carolina fan, Grant is going to be much better with the team going forward. And I thought Taylor Hall improved leaps and bounds during the game last night.
Taylor Hall was great. I think Taylor Hall was a really sneaky get for them, and I think he's going to absolutely perform. He always does.
He was playing on the first line by the end of the night.
Yep. He had a few really good shifts.
He had good chemistry with Aho and
Svechnikov.
Maybe Svechnikov. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So again, I think right now, from at least the team perspective, we've got some injuries. And now we're without Pulak for multiple weeks, probably, in Hogberg.
It's easy to beat the Philadelphias and the Pittsburghs and the San Jose's and the crappy teams we've been beating. Now, okay, did beat Carolina. Okay, there's a feather in the cap.
That's a good win.
But long story short, the easy run of games, the 7-game homestand has 1 game left. If you lose to Colorado on Tuesday night, well, guess what? You're 4-3 over a 7-game homestand. It's just not good enough. It just isn't good enough. And you got to play the Rangers 3 times. The Rangers are back to being the Rangers now.
The Rangers are playing every single time we play the Rangers. They're playing their third game in 4 nights.
I don't care.
Matters? You don't think that matters?
I don't think we're not even the Rangers class. And Shesterkin has been phenomenal.
Sorokin's been phenomenal. Think about that. All the idiots, all the losers that were shitting all over Sorokin. He's been absolutely spectacular again. And here's the thing. Go ahead, Grandpa.
Okay, but Sorokin's going to have to play a lot of games over the next month and a half.
So it's easy to scapegoat him again.
He's going to have to play the next 7 or 8 games before the Nations Cup. And then he's going to have to play who knows how many games after that. I
don't ever think Varley's going to be back the same way.
I mean, is Sorokin in the Nations Cup or not? I don't know.
No, he's not.
Okay.
So he'll have some break. He'll have some rest. Now, again, I think guys who have stepped up, Matt Barzal absolutely stepped up over this stretch. He's been spectacular. As much of the criticism he was receiving earlier on, Matt Barzal's absolutely stepped up over this span.
Okay, I agree. Is there anyone else?
I didn't know if you had any other thoughts on that.
No, I think the team in general has played much better. I mean, we're still hemorrhaging chances in our end, but I think that the team in general has been really good on the forecheck. The penalty kill has played a little bit better. They've been moving the puck a little better on the power play. Still not getting a whole lot of production, but at least it has been looking a little bit more lively. That said, it's easy to look lively against teams like Philly and Buffalo and, Pittsburgh. Yeah, okay. When you play the good teams, it's going to be problematic for the Islanders. This stretch, look at the game. Look at who we play in the next 10 games before the break, and then
it gets tougher. The schedule absolutely gets tougher.
Well, then guess what? Those are games you're probably going to lose. Instead of winning by 1 goal, you're probably going to lose those games.
I do think it is a leveler when all the team or a handful of teams that you're playing are playing their third game in 4 nights. I think you're overlooking what type of impact that has.
But the Islanders have a number of those games as well down
the Islanders only play 8 games all season where they have, or 8 stretches all season where they have 3 games in 4 nights. They played 4 in the first half of the year. before this Four Nations Cup, Four Nations face-off, and they'll have 4 in the second half.
Okay. So how do you think the Islanders are going to fare playing 3 and 4?
Shockingly enough, the record wasn't as bad as I thought it would be over the 3 over 4s.
In the second half, at the end of the season, when they're worn down, battling fatigue because of all the injuries and every other thing, they're older team. It's easier to do that beginning of the year than at the end. They're probably going to lose 2 out of 3. And the fact is, it's not just the points that they're down. It's how many teams. I mean, and every team is not going to lose. These teams are not all magically losing every night. They're going to be playing and they're going to be winning. And when games go to overtime, it's doubly problematic. I just, like I said, the Islanders are how many points out of the playoffs right now? 6, 8? I don't know. It doesn't matter. There's too many good teams ahead of them. That's the problem. They're in 14th place in the conference over shitty Pittsburgh. And maybe they'll beat the Flyers after. I don't know if they beat Colorado or not, but let's say they lose to Colorado, who's always been a bad matchup for us. Then they beat Philadelphia. Whoop-de-doo. So maybe you'll be 13th in the conference because you got crappy Philadelphia, crappy Pittsburgh, and shitty Buffalo behind.
7 points. I didn't know we're still 7 points out of a playoff spot.
See what I mean? It's like you have 14 points out of 20.
6. I'm sorry, 6 points.
What were we? 8 points down 3 weeks ago before we started this 7 out of 10 win or 7 out of 9. We were what? 8 points out. Now we're 7 points or 6. I mean, we haven't made up any ground. That's the point. Because guess what? There's the other teams ahead of us are in the same boat and they're all playing hard. And they've been playing tougher schedules than us. We've had the easiest part of our schedule with a 7-game homestand, and we've made up 1 point over 3 weeks. We're not playing another 40 weeks to catch up. Not happening.
We don't have another 40 weeks on the schedule, Grump.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not happening. You seriously, I don't care how close enough to playoffs you are after the next 7 games before the 2-week break. You have to say we're moving on from Brock Nelson. He says he wants to stay. Here's the thing: Brock Nelson's not staying. He is absolutely testing free agency.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Well,
and I think Paul Mary probably will too.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll probably go back to Jersey. You move those guys, move them.
Or maybe he'll say, "Oh, if I ever come back and play in the NHL, it'd only be for the New York Islanders."
Oh, he's not going to say that. We know he wants to play for New Jersey. And we know Brock Nelson wants to play with Minnesota. You know what? You move him to Colorado at the deadline or to Minnesota. I don't care. Neither one of them has a first-round pick this year. I'll be more than happy to take next year's first-round pick.
Let's talk a little bit about this big trade, and then we're going to get to the ad and start jumping to some comments here real quick. Big trade was Carolina Hurricanes. They added Mikko Rantanen, as we mentioned earlier, and Taylor Hall, 2 huge additions there to that team. They traded away Martin Necas and Jack Drury to the Avalanche, and they gave up a few picks as well.
Second and a fourth.
A second. Think about that. A second and a fourth to upgrade Necas and Drury to Taylor Hall and Mikko Rantanen.
Massive upgrade. A massive upgrade for Carolina. Why is Colorado moving Rantanen?
Because they weren't even in the contract done.
That's right. They weren't even in the same ballpark contract-wise. I give this grade right now, today, it's an A for Carolina. I think it's imperative for Carolina to re-sign Rantanen.
Yes.
I think it's imperative. That's an A+ deal then. Taylor Hall Jack Drury is what? Third, fourth line guy. I mean, you know, he fit on the Islanders, probably a second liner on the Islanders, but every other team he's probably fourth liner. So, you know, is it a loss for him? Necas signed what? A 2-year deal. You know he was flying. He signed his bridge deal. He's leaving after that. With the contentious negotiations they had, there was no way they were keeping him. They were talking about trading him even after he signed that contract in the summer. They were thinking about moving him right away.
Yep, the contract negotiations were apparently very rough between Carolina. And again, this is a new Carolina general manager as well. So, who is an absolute Peter Poindexter. Holy shit. I'll let you go ahead and go. Yeah,
he's the guy I thought the Islanders would have a shot at before Waddell left, right? He's absolutely an analytics guy. You know, they're big into the analytics, and I don't even know if he knows what skates are.
I don't know if he's ever even hit the gym before.
But he's an analytics guy for certain, just watching the interview last night for certain. But they need to re-sign Rantanen. And The only problem I can see Carolina having is if they want to play it cheap like they did with Gensel. They could have had Gensel signed last year. Absolutely, they could have. Rantanen's a better player than Gensel.
Yeah.
This is the second year they went in for rental. They'd never done it before. They didn't do it last year. Before last year, they got Gensel. Gensel worked. He was great with them.
Well, they talked too about the fact, and again, the GM mentioned they're going to have more cap flexibility. Last year, they had to shed something like $15 million or something like that off the cap just so you can get cap compliant.
They're going to be $22 million under the cap.
That's correct, because you got Orlov's $7 million a year contract maturing, and the same thing here with Brett Burns, like $8 million a year contract maturing at the end of this year. And now they've got spots to fill, but yes.
they got two young defensemen on entry-level deals. They can give Rantanen $13 million a year if they want. Will ownership come off the hip of that? They've been notoriously cheap. That's the problem with that ownership group. Cheap.
I think Rantanen's a first ballot Hall of Famer if he stays healthy long enough.
I mean, he's good. He's a top 5 winger in the game, no?
Two plus seasons in a row with 100+ points, well on his way to another season, his third season in a row. He's got like 680 points in like 619 games. The guy, if he'll probably make the Hall of Fame, right? Like, he's definitely on the trajectory to do that.
And a big power forward with a great shot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But Colorado did not do bad, honestly. They got Drury's, he is what he is. I mean, whatever. I mean, he'll work in the bottom 6 on that team. And Natchez, I think, is going to be better than he was in Carolina. He started off hot for Carolina this year, then he petered off. But Colorado plays his style of game much more than Carolina did. So you could see them, him have more increased production with Colorado. But Rantanen can play anywhere.
He's spectacular.
So, yeah, I just think I give an A, like I said, an A for Carolina, A+++ if they re-sign him, and then for Colorado, I give a B because you're losing the best player in the deal. And for Chicago, I give them like a D+ or D. They got a 3rd round pick and they gave up Taylor Hall, and they're eating half a Rantanen salary for this year. That made no sense to me.
Chicago should have absolutely done better than that. I mean, that's the real loser of that trade, and I think it's not even close. We're talking about who missed out.
That makes no sense to me at all.
Yep, absolutely, Grump. So big losses here, and we'll just transition this now to get into, I guess, to ad reading the comments. Big losses, and Pulock, I think, more specifically than Hogberg. Hogberg's just a backup. He played well as a backup, but again, I think you mentioned it yesterday too to me when we were off air. It just proves to you don't need to overpay a backup on a 4-year extension, for a 35-year-old backup, because you can find a guy like Hogberg for nothing. You could find a backup who could fill the spot for a year or 2 years for next to nothing. No need to overpay guys like Varlamov going forward. So Hogberg, he'll be out for some time. Pulock obviously is a bigger impact. We're going to be without Pulock and Dobson now. That's big.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So where do you go from there? They have nobody in the minors to step up. So It is what it is.
So absolutely. And that's we're going to see that. The only thing that we can hope, right, because we want the rebuild to occur, the only thing that we can hope is that it takes a toll on the Islanders to where we are not in a spot to where we're adding at the deadline or staying pat, that we're going to actually go ahead and sell at this year's deadline. That's the only thing we can hope. So a lot happened. That's why we had this pop-up. I wouldn't call it an emergency podcast, but we had this pop-up podcast because a lot has happened since our last show. But I do want to go ahead and jump today into our ad reads. We do have an ad to read here from DraftKings, grumpy old man. Playoffs. We're talking about the playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by getting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, by betting on them, at DraftKings. The number one place to bet touchdowns. Are you ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. We talked about it. You can add a whole bunch of same-game parlays. You could say, hey, I'm going to bet that the Buffalo Bills will have more penalties called against them than the Chiefs. I'm betting that we're going to see, at least one pass interference call against, the Buffalo Bills defense today's game, and maybe a roughing the passer, right? You can start betting penalties. You can bet touchdowns. You can pretty much bet anything you want on DraftKings. That's why you got to check it out. And, just use the information that has obviously been occurring in that sports entertainment realm of NFL, wisely as you can. But new DraftKings customers can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings app, DraftKings Sportsbook app, and use the promo code THPN. Again, that's promo code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available if you have a gambling problem. Call 888-79-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort. You must be 21 years or older, but age varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, visit dkng.com/audio.
Okay.
And I think that's all we've got here.
Just one ad today.
I think so, man. I haven't gotten an update on Game Time in a while. I mean, talking about like a month. So I gotta check that out. But yes, grumpy old man. Let's just read a Game Time ad. Maybe we got an ad from them. Maybe we don't. I'll have to check later. But today's podcast is also brought to you by Game Time. Again, you've heard us talk a little bit before about how when you're at the actual game live, it has a different level and appeal to it. And hockey, I think, is definitely one of those sports to when you're at a live hockey game, especially come playoff time, there's nothing that beats that. I mean, just the atmosphere, the enthusiasm in the arena, you feel every single check, the absolute crowd is in it. It just gives you a little bit of that extra oomph, if you know what I mean. So again, we've talked a bit about before here, if you're looking to purchase tickets to a game like that or a sporting event or an entertainment event, great way to do that is with Game Time. If you're buying tickets there in the secondary market there, it's great to have, tickets where you could see live. Okay, what does it look like for, my view, right? Like sometimes seats aren't always all created equally. And you need to know, okay, gotcha. Am I going to have an obscured view, or is my view just as good as I would anticipate it would be if I'm paying good money for tickets? The other thing I love about Game Time, right? When you go ahead and purchase the ticket or looking to purchase a ticket, it's got the all-in pricing. You don't have to worry about adding in, oh gosh, what's the convenience fee going to be for Game Time? What are they charging? Oh gosh, is there any sort of handling fees? Okay, really it's saying $40 a ticket, but in reality it's $100 a ticket with all these nonsense fees that are added on. So you don't have to worry about doing any sort of mental accounting to determine what you're paying for your ticket. You know exactly what it is when you go in and you pay for the ticket. You know exactly what it is when you're searching and perusing around Game Time. Again, that's the all-in pricing that I really like. The other thing I'll tell you about that makes it work, again, like Game Time picks, they have more than just sports. It's concerts, it's comedy, it's theater, it's really anything. So if you're more into the arts, you're a little bit more sophisticated than myself, you can go ahead and you can go ahead and find a good option like that on Game Time. It's got the lowest price guarantee, and this is huge. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Again, they feel pretty confident about that if they're going to go ahead and credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a lower price for that ticket somewhere else. And again, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Picks. Download the Game Time app or Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the promo code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem the code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's time, Grumpy. That's right. So, I'd say this. Wow. Islanders, though. Definitely another big injury there to Pulock. And over this last week, Dobson and Pulock are out for multiple weeks. Islanders are playing well. Again, they're playing well going into this Four Nations face-off. So I don't know how much selling or actively soliciting Lou's going to do. Maybe he believes in the team. Maybe he believes in the core of the team there, Grumpy.
Okay.
Nick D.
Says, don't forget to smash that like button.
That's right. Hammer the like button. Nick D also, Grumpy.
Grumpy and TJ, how you guys doing tonight? What do you think about Tony D last night? Maybe we need a firecracker like that in the lineup. We spoke about that in depth.
I think he's good, though. Just all in all, I think offensively, he definitely adds something to the team. I'm not sure how bad he is defensively. I assume he's a defensive liability, though.
Anthony Rizzi says, once again, these Islanders are screwing things up. Give Lou more false hope not to sell now.
Yep, I agree. Anthony Rizzi. He also says there, we'll be in the middle of the pack, out of the playoffs, and lose Nelson and Palmieri to free agency.
That's worst case scenario, right?
Yep, that or adding. They're both pretty bad. Nick D also said, X, how are you doing, X? Oh, gosh. Chiefs or Bills? Oh, gosh. Referees. Nick D, Grump.
Lou has to trade both. He should know that we'll lose in the first round again. We're not making the playoffs anyway.
I think we could squeak in. As I told you before, I think it's a possibility, and it's the worst possible thing for the Islanders. Anthony Rizzi.
Hope Pulak is okay and it's not serious, but to be honest, he's out for a month or so. Can't see how we win without Dobson or him out for a long period of time. Yeah, it's problematic.
Now he's out for, I'd say, like Dobson. And
we don't know. Dobson, to me, Dobson's going to be out 2 months, right?
Minimum. Multiple weeks.
He won't be back before the 2-week break. He will not.
He won't be back for the trade deadline.
Okay.
JP Grump.
The Islanders heat up in late January, early February every year, and the Lamanites turn suckers on Lou's shriveled old digit like lips pucker. Oh,
it's typical. Typical Islanders, though, right? Every single year to keep the core and the group together. Whoa!
Maybe Lou is doing the Dr. Evil thing.
Freedom fun and adventure.
Exasperating is the word of the night. TJ and Grumpy, give us the definition.
Exasperating is watching the Bills and expecting them to ever beat the Chiefs and the referees. That's exasperating. That's what I'd say of that. It gets you kind of always in a thought to where maybe they can go ahead and achieve. Maybe they can overcome these obstacles. But always, time and time again, there's always the officials and the coaching that prevents them from doing that. That's exasperating. Ever thinking that the league will side against the Swifties and Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That's exasperating. That's your definition of exasperating.
Okay. Next. Lefty all around says, how has Bo Horvath been playing with you folks? In Vancouver, I didn't notice him for at least 40% of the games he played in Vancouver. I think he's the same guy here as well.
Absolutely non-existent sometimes. I mean, he plays well, but it has to be Matt Barzal creating everything for him. JP.
You can do whatever you want. It just takes vision and the will.
Rick Roma.
Islanders are rolling. Lou's about to add this deadline. I can't disagree more with that.
I could see that being a possibility. I mentioned that as the worst case scenario, and I could see it being a possibility. We're adding now. So, freedom fun adventure.
Those celebrating these meaningless wins are cheering on years of future pain. Islanders suck early. Excuses, sites of confidence, stay together. Garbage wins. Lou doesn't sell, and hope is lost.
I think you summed that up quite fairly there. Simple. Anthony Rizzi.
Doesn't matter that Nelson is getting hot. Lou isn't selling now. The team is getting hot, so they don't sell. I hate this team. This team would screw up a wet dream. Seems like they have. Well, we'll find out. I don't see how he keeps them. I just don't see it.
You haven't been watching Lou Lamoriello and his MO. Here you go, Grumpy. Frank.
It's amazing how the Islanders became a juggernaut around this time. LOL. True.
Freedom Fun Adventure.
I don't care either way about DeAngelo or any of the other stuff. You can watch the games and see the team doesn't have it, just like the scouts that watch TJ play ball. Oh my goodness.
I don't even have a comment for that Freedom Fun Adventure. Just keep pulling for your shitty Miami teams. We'll move along.
Oh, that's a hot button. Rick Roma says, if Lou really wants to add, I'm guessing the first round pick, lottery protected, and Yzerman could fetch a nice score. Who's available?
No. I'm assuming if he wants to add, those are the guys he would trade away, Grump. Did you not understand that?
Okay, who's available in trade?
We're going to add somebody that nobody expects.
Okay.
Freedom from
Grumpy, you
adventure.
worked in the medical profession. Do tell. I only have heard of your time with the Panthers. That was a side hustle. Panthers a side hustle. Work in a hospital is my main gig. Rick Rock says the KHL is lose team. Hot take. Tony D is a very good hockey player. I thought he looked fine yesterday.
I think offensively he's going to be really good on the back end. That's about that. Matthew S.
Now all the Dobson haters can't blame him for losses. Hate DeAngelo. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. It was funny. People online were like, "Oh man, our power play looks so much better now without Noah Dobson." Without Noah Dobson, our power play's 0-6. So I guess I'll just start waiting to see results. And again, it's a short sample size, only 2 games, but again, it is what it is. Freedom to find adventure, Grumpy.
TJ, when you said my medical opinion, does that mean you showed it to Doc Page and you are parroting what the boss of you said?
No. I'm watching. I've seen enough injuries to know that.
I cannot believe Dalton Kincaid dropped the pass right in his freaking hands on 4th down. I can't believe it.
They suck. The Bills are the Bills. You think again? Oh, Bills are finally going to beat the Chiefs.
I thought it was their year.
No shot in hell. He dropped it right between his hands. Is exactly right. He sucks. Another thing was the officials weren't helping out at all tonight either. Just the typical. Again, like if that was Mahomes back there getting driven into the ground, 15 yards. How many times have we seen that already on 4th down when they get stopped? They're just like, oh, gotcha. Here's a flag. We got to keep the drive going. They would have do that to him because, if they were down right there driving down the field to try to score, that's how that would transpire.
X did have a very interesting little 4th down thing. What would happen if the Chiefs needed a 4th down play to win? I thought it was hilarious.
What did X say?
He sent it to the family fantasy group. It was hilarious.
I'll tell you this. Maybe they still have a chance, the Bills. Ooh, wouldn't that be something? No, they've got no shots though. Anyway, there you go. Mario.
It's kind of hypocritical for those Islanders fans who have issues with what DeAngelo said when he was coming up, but keep quiet about Cizikas having been sentenced for manslaughter in 2009.
Oh yeah, people. Again, in lacrosse, killed another kid. I don't know. Again, that's a good point, Mario. Again, I don't know too much of what happened to DeAngelo, and again, that's one of those things for Casey. Yeah, they keep quiet about. Absolutely. What are you, Grumpy? What are you?
The game's over. 3rd and 9, and they convert. Wide open. Again, it's funny. Coaching wins these big games. All you got to do is get out of your own way, and Buffalo's not able to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rick Roma, Grumpy. I kept telling you, don't bet against the refs. Simple.
I would offer Dobson 8x8 now with his injury in this horrible season. It could turn out to be a bargain. If you're Noah Dobson, why would you not bet on yourself after this? I'm not, but there's no way. I'm just taking a 1-year deal. We'll go to arbitration. I'll take a 1-year deal and I'll hit free agency. He'll absolutely cash in free agency. TJ, wasn't there something that somebody put out what the contracts are going to be for players? Did you have that?
It was an analytics site.
Analytics site. A lot of people here like analytics.
That's right. They put out what they anticipate. It's called AFP Analytics put out what they anticipate the contracts to be. And again, Noah Dobson, shockingly enough, I don't know. They didn't call me up, AFP Analytics, but maybe that's my real job. I work for them. 8 years, $10 million AAV. I did laugh at that.
I mean, honestly, again, for people to say, oh, he's not worth it, he's not getting that. Well, all I have to say is I look at the comparables to Noah Dobson. His comparables, again, are Seth Jones, Zach Wierenski, and Darnell Nurse. He's better than all of them. They get $9.5 million a year.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to get $9.5. It might not be with the Islanders, and he might take a lesser deal. But as far as I'm concerned,
the fair market value is close to around 9 to 10.
You get close to free agency, I am absolutely testing the market, and they'll move him. They should. There's no one on this team that should be untouchable.
If Noah Dobson and his agent say yes to an 8x8 deal, I don't know. He should look for a new agent. I mean, it's just what it should be. But if you sign him on an $8 million deal, I mean, sign up. I mean, I'm all down for it. But I'm also, again, if he needs to be traded to actually revamp the rebuild, I'm fine with it too, because we waited too long and Lou screwed the pooch. JP.
Mario, Cizikas had a bad moment in his life. DeAngelo has a bit of a rap sheet. Regardless, it's a red herring since the Islanders should be shipping everyone out anyway.
Yep.
I don't know. Has anyone actually come out and said this is what Tony DeAngelo has done? I don't know. There's a lot of rumor and innuendo, but I've never actually heard what happened. I don't think anything's been reported on it, so I don't know.
Well, let's start looking here. Freedom Fund Adventure.
Fellas, so you agree that this group of Islanders know that they don't need max effort and can get any coach fired? Do you agree these softies could get Al Arbor and Scotty Bowman pushed out the door? Well, we wouldn't have. They're both dead, aren't they? We don't have to worry about that. I don't know if Scotty Bowman's still alive, but he ain't coaching anymore.
No, I think that this team is absolute. I think that those coaches would quit.
First of all, you'd have a real GM. You'd have a real GM in charge. That's what would happen. You'd have a real general manager in charge.
They'd quit. I mean, like, it's just like, who's the GM who was here for like 30 days and left?
Neil Smith. He knew.
Neil Smith. That's what I was about to say. You'd have a Neil Smith just as a head coach. Be here for about 3-4 weeks and like, yeah, fuck this. I can't work with Lou. See you later. Rick Roma.
I hope all my comments get read. Hopefully that handsome son of a bitch, Son X, is monitoring them.
See, X is not. He's too busy playing video games and watching.
Son X says he gives a certain amount of time and then he's off.
He's playing video games. Grumpy.
I'm certain I'm getting a phone call as soon as the show is over. I'm certain of it.
Yeah.
Son X predicted this Super Bowl matchup at the end of last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah. And yet he still was a sucker for it. I told you I wouldn't watch any of the games in the Chiefs, and I watched maybe about a quarter of it. And I won't watch the Super Bowl. No interest in it. No interest in watching the same exact thing play out and the officials bail out the Chiefs once again and give the Swifties another win and the Superdome. Oh, wouldn't that just be so cute? I've got no interest in it. I've got no interest in
it. Sean McDermott beat them today with his stupid calls. Put points on the board, assholes. Every coach does it. I'm going for 2. Dan quit. I'm going for 2 in the first quarter. You stupid son of a bitch. I mean, they got rolled anyway, but you're chasing those points. Stop going for 2. Just put the point. You know what? You want to know who doesn't go for 2 unless he absolutely has to? Andy freaking Reid. If it's close, he's just going for 1. We don't need to go up by 10 points. 9 points is enough. 8 points is enough. We don't just dumb coaches. Football coaches stupid, built-in dumb. Rick Roma says Georgiev is a hothead dick as well, so I don't know who to blame in that fight. Okay, let's admit that fighting among teammates is not good. It's not a good look.
Not in hockey. Other sports, I'm okay.
Anyone tell me what Tony DeAngelo did? I have no idea.
I don't know.
He's a bad guy. He was a racist. Well, what did he do? No one ever says anything. What did he actually do? Nothing was reported. I know Islander fans hate him. Ranger fans, did they hate him? Yeah. I think they liked him when he was with the team, but they hated him when he left. Fans always root for whoever's on their team. They don't care. They could commit murder and they're going to root for him anyway. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, Ray Lewis was a hell of a guy. They still love Ray. Still love Ray Lewis.
I mean, I was there that night. I wasn't at the club, but I was 2 blocks from the club that night that him and his buddies killed somebody.
No, 2 blocks from the club. Kill him, Grumpy. They didn't kill him. Come on.
I don't know. He stopped breathing. He had lead poisoning or something. I don't know what happened. Okay. Grumpy, please tell us when Doc Page recently called to inform you that and the warden that TJ lacks stamina. She probably said it many times over the years, but related to his huffing and puffing and shoveling. No, I just assumed that it was.
No, we were good. We shoveled all the snow right out. No problem at all. Okay, Freedom Fund Adventure, Grandpa.
TJ, I agree. Lou is giving all indicators that he won't sell and wants to pull his usual BS of trying to make the playoffs, not gaining assets, ruining draft position, and leaving this team as a nuclear wasteland.
We're seeing a lot of conversation as well of the upset fans of Buffalo. Oh, man. Yeah. Yes, Grumpy. The idiots go for 2. Yeah. I mean, again, like Buffalo, this is not,
Stop
Buffalo.
going for 2.
They went for 2 earlier on in the game to make it a 3-point game. They failed it. Then they went for 2 again, and they missed it again. You're like, oh.
There's the 3 points that cost you a tie game. There it is. And then they went for it 4th on 1 when they were in field goal range. Didn't get it. And there you go. There's your game. That's why you lost. And then, again,
That
execute
play
plays.
by James Cook, though. Oh my God. I don't know if you saw that. That was a Herculean effort by James Cook. And I was like, man, individual effort like that sometimes will win you a game. And they
Dalton
still find a way to
Kincaid,
lose.
Dalton Kincaid on a 4th down play, right there. All right, he's falling out right through his freaking hands.
Yeah.
No one near him. Right through his hands. There's a 1st down. You're
I really thought that was a roughing the passer call.
It was roughing the passer, but they're not going to call that against Buffalo.
They threw the flag on the play. They're not going to call it against the Chiefs. They threw the flag on the play and then they picked it up.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Like I said, the NFL is absolutely reactionary league. What did they do this week? They heard all the hubbub about the referee last week, who all the Chiefs get all the calls from this guy. They're undefeated with this guy as referee. So this week, there's been a lot of people complaining. Let's put the other ref in, but they made sure they gave him his walking orders before he went out there.
Absolutely. I don't know why anybody bothers to watch that. I mean, I don't know why anybody watches the WWE or the NFL.
It's a bad look for the NFL. And I think when you're hearing people, normies who are not sports fans or are not football fans, saying, wow, these guys are getting an awful lot of breaks. How come they get all these calls? That's problematic. It's like the news media. Same thing. It takes a long time to get out of that mindset of what you think. But after a while, when the Chiefs, football is always on the up and up. It's up, 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 up. But when you finally lose that respect, it's almost impossible to get it back. Almost impossible.
Yeah. Freedom Adventure says, Grumpy, who is the one of your favorite people who visited?
My little baby came for a visit this weekend.
Little Liza. Thomas Antonetti. Thomas Antonetti.
There is not one L in that name. First or last. With the signing of DeAngelo and the current winning streak, I'm more and more convinced that old Lou is going to go all in, hold on to our RFAs, and set us back yet again. We will have
to hold on to UFAs too.
I cannot believe that. I just flat out cannot believe that.
JEP.
Why in the world wouldn't you trade Barzell and Horvat? They're done by the time the team rebuilds. Get value for them. Yeah, well, I think it's tough to add those contracts to other teams' with salary caps. Tough.
I will say this here too. Rumors are swirling around again that Elias Pettersson may be on the move, and that's going to require Matt Barzal plus.
Why would you trade for Elias Pettersson? Why would Vancouver trade him?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But
that's right. It makes no sense. It's horseshit. It's not happening.
Yeah. Here it is. Freedom Adventure says here, I remember the days not too long ago when the Islanders were always one of the toughest teams. I hate watching how soft they are now. You see Carolina player pushing Nelson repeatedly without any retaliation and free of worry. Yeah. Well, again, I will say this much. I mean, the Islanders, I don't know. The New York Saints, as they'd like to call them. I don't know. They're the least penalized team in the NHL. I wish they had a little bit more bite and snarl to their play. The least penalized team in the NHL. Anyway, here you go. Philip Brunel's shopping cart thief.
Ooh, I'm worried now that the Islanders are winning despite being 7th to last in the league. The old man won't trade Nelson and Palmieri and will extend them. I don't. First of all, Nelson's not extending. I guarantee you he's walking, and Palmieri's walking too. It would be malfeasance by Lamoriello not to trade.
You know what it's like? It's like the same exact thing when I keep telling you that the Bills had no shot to beat the Chiefs. No, this is the year the Bills finally beat the Chiefs. Every single time I will believe the current trend until it gives me reason not to. The Bills, I will never believe they're going to beat the Chiefs until I finally see it with my eyes in a game that matters and when the officials don't completely finger up the results. And just like for the Islanders and Lou Lamoriello, right, throw the comparison, I never will believe Lou will start a rebuild or a retool until I see him actually do it. No reason to believe it. And this winning streak here, 7 wins in 9 games. Get ready, Grumpy. We may be adding it this year's deadline.
No, it's not happening.
I don't know, Grumpy.
Brett Wayner says, Grumpy, don't stop believing. Lou will absolutely not do the right thing.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. I did want to bring this up here. Now, there's a few little, I'd say, hand grenades that are being thrown out there, at least in this. Chris Botta, not a big fan of the Islanders organization, Grumpy. I mean,
that.
Not a fan. I like Chris Botta because he's not a fan. He's fighting against the Islanders media cartel the same way we do, I feel like. Well, long story short, the Devils, Jacob Markstrom, had an injury, and they tweeted out what it was, right? Again, I'll read it to all the media. The New York Rangers has provided New Jersey has provided the following medical update on goaltender Jacob Markstrom. Devils goaltender Jacob Markstrom underwent imaging on Thursday, which indicated an MCL sprain. He will be out approximately 4 to 6 weeks. Markstrom will miss the remainder of the club's games leading into the Four Nations break. He will begin a rehab program under the guidance of the Devils athlete care staff. Pete.
Yeah, well, what do you know?
Chris Botta said professionalism from Pete. I also hope
Al
folks.
Beats.
Was that?
Don't be afraid. Pete who?
Pete A, grumpy old man. I also hope folks understand that it starts with Tom Fitzgerald, and the PR department is a reflection of the GM's approach to communicating with the fans and the media. If your team is not as accessible as this, don't blame the PR person.
Chris Bott, I believe, used to be in charge of the PR department for the Islanders. And he got old Canarino there. I believe it was when Lou came in, wasn't it? Right around that time.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much. Lou, we could tell, right? Like Noah Dobson, what do we know about his injury? Lower body injury.
And then Bruce Garach says, thank you to the Devils for their update. All teams should do this. They should. Why are we hiding injury?
Every other league does this except the NHL. Some teams refuse to do it. And I hate that the Islanders don't share anything. They won't even confirm that, yes, we could see it with our eyes. Every medical professional knows, yes, MCL sprain right there for Noah Dobson. Won't even say MCL sprain. We'll be week to week. They just say lower body injury week to week. I don't know.
Wasn't Scott Mayfield week to week until he missed the rest of the year?
With the broken foot and missed the rest of the year? Yeah, that they wouldn't tell us about.
Why?
Oh, why they won't fill us in on it? Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you at all. Other thing, I did like this. You remember
you're doing a disservice to your fan base is what you're doing.
Yep, you're keeping them in the dark, the people, the king customers, and the fans of your club and your franchise. Here you go, Grumpy. I feel like you'll like this one. This is Paul Bitchinette, your friend.
Oh, my buddy.
Oh, come on. Did you put that up just for me?
So I had to look at him how many years? I figured, guys, and then if you do good.
Did you make all the guys shave? Everyone's got clean beards here?
So, hey, you know what kind of meeting you're going to have, if it's good or bad. And yes, I got permission from him. Yeah.
Right. So depending on the meeting.
So Biz, you probably come in, it'd probably be that. And then if you did, it's your social thing, you get that one. So.
That's unbelievable.
But I did get permission from Lewis. So yeah.
Okay, the fact that Scott Gomez had to feel so fearful that he had to get permission to use that as a bit for Lou Lamoriello, God almighty. I'm like, this guy has such a stranglehold over absolutely nothing. And I mean, the guy has, I've never seen somebody build up so much cachet for something he did 30 fucking years ago. When's the last time the Devils won a cup? It was almost 30 years ago, right?
2001.
Okay, 24 years ago. My mistake. Almost a quarter of a century.
Okay, a long time. His thing. A long time ago.
And guess what?
No one in the league was even playing that. Let's just put it to you that way. Tom Brady was a rookie. That was when he won his first Super Bowl, was 2001. So figure it out.
Jesus. But I love that. He's like, I got permission from Lou to use this as a bit. I'm like, I kind of did like the bit a bit, but I'm like, Scott Gomez, don't say that part out loud. Other thing I did want to mention and to bring up here that I feel like would maybe bring a few chuckles about, the NHL announced the quarter of a century team for the New York Islanders. Oh my God. And wouldn't this just be something? Grumpy, we talked a little bit about this off air. God, look at the first team Islanders over the last 25 years.
You want to know what this tells me?
We suck.
The Islanders suck. They've been a really shitty team for the last 25 years. If that's your first team players, the fact Josh Bailey is even in the conversation for anything tells you all you need to know.
The issue I had is, how is Josh Bailey on this list over Anders Lee?
Because they both suck. They just put some names in a hat. They just could put anybody in there except for Tavares, right? You got to figure Tavares, Barzell. I was pretty good on this, wasn't I? I think I pretty much did.
Somewhat. I mean, you got the defensemen all wrong because, like, the defensemen Pulak and Kenny Janssen, I'm like, and Varlamov. Think about this: Varley and Sorokin are the two best goalies of the quarter century. Sorokin's only been here for like 5 years, 6 years. I don't know. Franz Nielsen, second team. Wow.
Kenny Janssen. How many years did Kenny Janssen play into the 2000s?
No idea.
And I like Kenny Janssen.
Like Michael Peck, I guess, didn't play long enough, and there's a few other guys that didn't play long, like Yashin. But I'm like, come on.
All it tells you is the team sucks. I cannot believe the league put that out.
Yes.
They just should have left empty faces on there.
Robert Marshall said there are rumors that Dobson has broken his leg like Ovechkin. I don't know. The way it bent, it looks more like an MCL sprain.
Yeah, it looks like something torn.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Matthew,
here's the thing. You're not going to hear it from the Islanders.
I was about to say, you'll have no idea. Matthew S. says here, Bada is taking shots. Don't like him, but he's right. Yeah.
Why don't you like Chris Bada? He's just a freaking PR guy.
Philip Burnell, Grumpy.
I'm worried now that the Islanders are winning, being 7th to last.
I'm sorry. There it is. I read that already. Good,
Grumpy, in 3 sentences or less, can you please explain to TJ who Carmine Ragusa was and what he signified? Do you
3
know?
sentences.
Do you know who Carmine Ragusa even is?
No, 3 sentences. Carmine, he's from
Carmine Ragusa, a.k.a. the Big Ragu, was on the show Laverne and Shirley.
You've got 3 sentences, Grump. I got to take a piss. And
that's one sentence. That was a touch tone series, a spinoff from Happy Days.
Number 2.
And he always used to sing, I want to know I come from rags to riches. That's it.
That's number 3. Grumpy, what do you want to say before you end the show tonight?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man, and behind the scenes, Son X.
Thanks so much, everybody, for watching the show. Thank you, Grumpy, as always. Thanks for all the comments and interaction. I had to run. I got to use the restroom an hour and 20 minutes in for our pop-up show. Thank you, Grumpy.
My pleasure.